me in the vehicle. We were coming back from Maitland on Broke Road, which runs from Broke towards Cessnock. The Broke end of the road is fairly well treed and whatnot. We were coming back through there, it would have been sort of 9:30, 10, coming back from Maitland direction, coming back into Broke, and was a fairly large thunderstorm happening, and the place was lit up fairly well. We just come over the hill, and on our right-hand side there's a big sort of dam, and you often see a lot of kangaroos, wild dogs, pigs, that sort of stuff at the dam. And as I came down the hill towards the dam, on the left-hand side of the vehicle, I just sort of noticed this thing standing sort of smack bang right on the side of the road, like would have been where the white line on the side of the road is. He would have been standing right where the grass starts beside that, which would have been maybe 3 metres away from the car. And I spotted it, and I sort of thought, oh, kangaroo, straight up, and then it sort of didn't move, and I looked, and again I thought, no kangaroo, that's pretty big. My daughter looked straight at me and said, what the hell's that? As we sort of got closer to it, it stood back towards the tree line a little bit, maybe went back about 1 metre, but it was very tall. Like we were driving a Ford Courier, which four-wheel drive, so it's fairly high in the air. And as we went past where it was standing, it would have been, its head and shoulders would have been above the roof line of the vehicle. 7.5 foot, thereabouts. Stood smack there, right on the side of the road, and sort of didn't, like a kangaroo, they hit the lights, they take off. It sort of took one step back and just stood there. As I've sort of passed it, I looked straight sort of at it, and then looked in the rear vision mirror, and you could see it still standing. The Courier had like work lights and stuff on the back of it, and like a light bar, and you could see it didn't move away from the road. It sort of looked around towards the vehicle, like turned to face the vehicle, and yeah, its upper torso was, if it was a human, you'd say he's been on the steroids, because he had a really sort of muscular chest, but not a lot of hair on the chest. There was a bit of like light reflection off the chest. The main thing I can remember apart from the chest is thinking that there wasn't much of a neck. It was sort of really big, muscly sort of shoulders with no neck. The head sort of just joined straight onto the shoulders. Width-wise, fairly wide across the shoulders. I'm probably around about 6 foot, but he would be 1.5 times my chest size easily. So he'd be, probably a couple of 2 and maybe 3 foot across the chest. It was really wide.
You saw this thing's face. Can you describe it?
The eyes were like fairly large, probably to look at, you'd say about as round as like a Coke tin. A fairly like elongated head, wide, long sort of head. Had a big forehead. Like from where its eye line was to where the top of its head would be was sort of twice that of a human. Didn't really make out much of a nose or the mouth.
Describe sort of the general shape. Was it sort of a human shape or different?
A human shape, but if it's a human, it's on steroids. It's like really not like where you get a human that's had been on doing weights and stuff, getting a V shape. It was still sort of the same. It didn't have the V like a muscly human. It was wide, but it was wide sort of down to its hips.
Did this thing have hair? You haven't mentioned hair.
Yeah. Dark ginger. Probably more brown, but it looked gingery. The chest didn't seem to have a hell of a lot on it. Top of the shoulders and the head, it was fairly long.
Smooth like a bear or dog, or was it shaggy like a goat or
no,
something?
Shaggy, like a mangy dog. Probably about sort of 10 to 15 centimetres long.
Okay, now the impression you got as you're looking at this thing, was it, do you think you were looking at a human or an animal or something else or nothing?
No way. No, definitely not a human. Just the physical size of it was way too big for any human I've ever seen.
So it couldn't have been like a guy in a ghillie suit from the army base?
No, definitely not.
You've had 2 further experiences. Just take me through each of those.
Well, the second time was winter last year, so it would have been that June, July sort of time. within 100 metres of the first time I seen it. Came down the hill, it's a big long hill down, and two kangaroos bolted straight across the road, which is sort of pretty usual for out here. So I took the foot off the accelerator to slow down a bit, and it was on the right-hand side of the road this time. As I said, there's like a dam with an old pump station and that there, and it was sort of probably 25-30 metres from the side of the road into the bush, right next to where the dam is, because it's a bit of a clearing there. And yeah, you could see back on. I couldn't see front on this time. It was sort of walking towards the dam, but yeah, that's the second time I've seen it.
You're convinced it was the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. Because there's a clearing next to the dam there, it sort of stood out like dog's balls, as I say. You can see it as plain as day.
How did this thing walk? Was it pretty much like a person or different?
The arms were definitely longer than a human, and it sort of stooped a little bit, like it didn't walk bolt upright. It sort of stooped over, and sort of its arms came down to like where, sort of between its thigh and its knee. Had really long arms, actually.